Hello everyone, my name is Ned, and if you've been wondering how things are going with the Aberration survival stories, I'd like to share with you our progress on that. In this video, I'm going to talk about how the voiceover is going, screenwriting, map and mod development, filming, and the current release order plan, all contained in a bit of an update to the Aberration survival stories project. So without further ado, let's get into it. But first, I'd like to say thank you so much for the immense support over on the GoFundMe. We actually passed the goal of $2,000 to roughly $2,400. This has been a massive help in paying for the majority of the voiceover involved, so I cannot thank you enough. Also, I have to give a massive shout out to my patrons listed here and people like Zev Hunter who have supported my channel immensely through super chats here on YouTube. Lastly, a big thanks to Slowreadr, who is a Master Controller tier over on the Patreon. I really appreciate it. But with that said, let's talk about the progress update. So starting with voiceover, I am happy to announce that it's all just about finished, as in it's been recorded by the respective voiceover artists, edited, sent over, and has been received by me. We have the voiceover for all of the graduate students, except one I'm still deciding on, as well as every main character. If you're curious to know who is voicing each character, I'd like to go through each of them now. Yanni Harris, Elliott Crossley, and May Kunishi will each be reprising their fan-made dubbing of Helena Walker, Sir Edmund Rockwell, and Lee Mei Yin, respectively. At long last, we finally get to show part of the story of Diana Altaras, who will be voiced by Heather Foster. As for the graduate students, some of these, I don't have their full names, so I'll just be going by their usernames across whichever platform we collaborated on. Rusty will be voiced by FL Falcon, Emilia by Dancing Spark, Boris by Kobanassis, Trent by Nick Sleeper VO, or otherwise known as Kugo the Mighty, and lastly, Imamu will be voiced by Drew Hepkins. Then there's Sky, which, considering they only have one note, I haven't fully decided on them yet. In the past, I haven't really announced who's voicing various characters, but since we have basically all of the voiceover at this point, I figured I'd make that publicly known. These have all been lovely people to work with, and I cannot wait for you to hear how they voiced each of these characters, especially Rockwell. Elliott absolutely knocked it out of the park with this one, and that is especially great since this is Edmund's last survival story. While we now have all of the voiceover for the project, that is really just kind of the easy part, at least on my end, because next I want to talk a little bit about screenwriting and how that process goes. Moving forward from Scorched Earth, my team and I have really sort of stepped up the production value, you might say, as we've brought more and more people onto the team and have become more ambitious with the project overall. This means that we're improving in every way, and that includes the way that we write. For the majority of the screenwriting, it's just been me doing it, but others have contributed, including Golden Drop and Spartan073003. The screenwriting process is interesting because we're basically taking what's written in the notes and trying to build upon the story with tons of extra details and create entire scenes with those in mind. As you may know, ARK's notes don't really have a whole lot of specific details at times. Some are really vague, some don't even mention massive parts of the in-game environment that really make you scratch your head when you're analyzing it. I'm again looking at you, Element Extractor. But for the most part, when screenwriting, we have to be pretty creative with how we interpret the characters and the entire scenes that should be built around them. This process takes a ton of time, but I'm so glad to be a part of it and cannot wait to be through this phase and get into filming when we're actually bringing these scenes to life with a bunch of people. As for how far along I am in screenwriting, I've got Helena's completely finished, May's about a third of the way done, and Diana's roughly halfway done. Rockwell's is in the earlier stages, though that's okay because this video is going to be the last in order, which I'll touch on at the end. What might be the most fun part of this project to see, being very much on the observation side, is the mod, map, and art development of the project. We've had about in total 4 people get involved in this process to varying degrees, with the majority of this work being done by Golden Drop. Now, why is it that we have to make mods for this? Well, Aberration happens to cover tons of content in the story that you simply cannot find in-game. Entire parts of the station that are vaguely described don't even exist in the Aberration map, nor even in the dev kit. And that doesn't even account for what Aberration looked like before it was destroyed. All that we've had to go off of was this little drawing in part of Diana's note that shows the topography of the ARK. But with that in mind, we're not letting that stop us. For just about anything that needs to be shown in the survival stories to tell the story in the way that we want to, we're creating content for that thing. This even includes the pre-destroyed map, which you can see a few screenshots of here. We've named this map, which is still very much under constant development, Normality, and it's being designed from the ground up to act as a nearly one-to-one representation of the map before it was destroyed and turned aberrant. In addition to that, our modders will be developing extra items, armor types, all kinds of stuff that we're really going to need to tell this story right, so stay tuned. This is single-handedly the largest fan-made project I've ever worked on in ARK, and quite frankly, not to toot our own horn here, but the largest and most in-depth ARK video project that I've ever been aware of existing thus far for the community. So when I say stay tuned, I really, really mean it. Speaking of staying tuned, what about the release? Well, before I can really touch on that, we need to talk about the step in between, which is filming. As you may or may not have gathered if you've seen prior survival stories, these projects incorporate loads of people, tons of what are called body actors, to play as characters that are responsible for acting out their roles in-game. We film only on PC. This is not something you can do on console to such depths with mod content and the kinds of graphical fidelity that we play with on PC. All filming is volunteer-based, and we have a Discord server where you can apply to come join in. Other creators like Up From The Depths and Jakari are known for doing this too, and this is just how we film our videos, by having volunteers come in and be stared at by the camera as they just act out whatever insane thing they're told to do.
I mean, seriously, my feet are wet, my shoes are wet, everything is wet. It's horrible. I hate this.
Well,
If you'd like to become a body actor and be part of that filming process for the Aberration survival stories once they start, go ahead and join our Discord below, and you can fill out an application right here in the applications channel. Generally, you'll want to be 18 plus to join this team, but there have been exceptions. Lastly, I want to touch on the planned release date and order for these videos. While I don't have an exact date, I will say that we're aiming for mid to late summer 2022. This may be pushed back as delays do happen, and this is only an estimate, but that's what we're looking at for right now. As for the order they'll come in, it's going to be mostly in chronological order, starting with Diana's story,
I shouldn't be leading this group.
then followed by Mei Yin,
The air is thick with the sound and smell of wild beasts.
Helena and her dossiers,
Don't get me wrong, it's fascinating too.
the graduate students,
unlocking the key to existence.
and lastly, Edmund Rockwell.
Damn them all! I must!
So with that said, I know this video has been very short, but I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you all so much for your patience and for understanding how much work and passion goes into these projects and just how long they take. We'll have more to share in the coming weeks and months. To my team, thank you everyone so much for sticking by and seeing this project through. I cannot wait to get into filming and to just make it fully clear what we're trying to do once these videos are done. So thanks again, and I will talk to you all in the next video. Bye everyone.